パーティーは終わりだ。行かすぜ。Hey guys, it's Will. It's Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. Welcome back to the channel. Let's jump right into this video. I am here to talk about two Japanese horror comedies. So I know these are not Hong Kong films, and I know that this is Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. I also know from having done this channel for years, from running the Facebook group, being on Twitter, what's the other thing called? Instagram, that a lot of people who follow this channel love Japanese movies too, and I love these movies I'm about to talk to you about, and so I thought, fuck it, I'm just gonna make this video. It's the Halloween season. I love watching horror movies for Halloween. Hopefully you do too. And I'm here to talk about a Japanese horror comedy double feature of two films I had never heard of as like a month ago that I am now adding to my like regular rotation every October when I watch horror films for Halloween. The films are both written, produced, and directed by Yu Nakamoto, and they are Ike Nieman, if you can see that there, and these are DVDs, not Blu-rays, and Harawata Man, which means the intestines man. I love the artwork on these, and they do have reversible artwork. So these were from Wild Eye Releasing or Films, or I don't know if it's Wild Eye Releasing or Wild Eye Films. I think it's Wild Eye Releasing, which is not a label I was familiar with, honestly, at all. I love this artwork, by the way, and I like am highly considering reversing it, but I also love this artwork, so I'm like kind of on the fence about it. So someone who knows my taste pretty darn well, let me just show you the other one too, sent me an email and was like, I'm gonna send you two movies. They're both less than an hour, which is true. They're both like 50-ish minutes long, 45, 50 minutes long. This one's 46 minutes, and this one is 52 minutes. He was like, I'm going to send you these movies. They're both less than an hour long. They're both by the same filmmaker. They're both horror comedies. Watch them as a double feature. I think you're really going to love them. And watch them in this order, which is Ike Nieman and then Harawata Man, because Harawata Man is a sequel to Ike Nieman. And so I was like, okay, it's Halloween season, and I trust that this person knows enough about my taste. This is the same person who sent me Subura. So Subura is an Italian like crime epic that's one of like my probably 10 favorite films I've seen in the past like 3, 4, 5 years. It was new to me. It's from I think 2015, but I had never heard of it and I had never seen it, and it just blew me away. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a chance with this because this person also sent me this other film that's like blew my mind. I freaking love these movies. They are so funny and they are so charming and they're very kind of bloody, and Harawata Man especially is kind of scuzzy and nasty. So they're like perfect movies to watch around the Halloween season. They're so short that they're just these like great hits of just like pure joy that don't overstay their welcome at all. They are micro budget films, but I do really want to emphasize the fact that these are not amateur films. Like, these are movies that are very well written, that are well directed, that are well acted. Like, these are people who really know what they're doing. They're just making micro budget. Like, I would guess that the budget for these movies was like $100,000, maybe even less than that. I don't honestly know, because I don't have any information about the films, but these are like micro budget films, right? They're not even low budget films. They're like micro budget films. But again, I have to emphasize, like, a lot of times when you see micro budget films, they're basically like amateur home movies, right? And they get by on passion more than craft and skill. These movies are not amateur. Like, these are professional films. The writing is very good. They're very funny. They're bloody. They're nasty. There's good effects in them. They just happen to have tiny budgets. So Ike Nieman is to slasher films kind of what Shaun of the Dead is to zombie films. Like, this is a hysterical and really loving homage to slasher films, and I am a huge slasher movie fan. This is probably my favorite, if not my single favorite, like top 3 favorite horror subgenres. I love the Friday the 13th movies. I love the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I love the Halloween movies. There's so many slasher films. I love the Scream series, like Happy Birthday to Me, Silent Night, Deadly Night. Like, I love these movies, right? There's references in this film to Friday the 13th Part 2, to Evil Dead Part 2, to a lot of Halloween references. And it's like some of the references are spoken aloud, like someone will mention like Michael Myers or something, but some of the references are just like in music cues or costuming or camera angles and stuff like that, right? So like, and there's a really funny bit at the beginning of the movie. So the setup of the movie is these film students go into the woods to make a slasher movie. And then they start arguing with each other and they like kind of get lost and they go out in the woods to try to film this sequence and things go horribly wrong, basically. I don't want to spoil more than that for you, but it's really, really funny and ridiculous, right? But there's a part at the beginning of the movie where like the director and the actors are like arguing with each other. And the director is like, it's really funny because the actors are kind of like shitting on the script of the movie they're filming, and the director's like, well, defending himself by being like, well, no, horror movies are about tropes and they're about predictability and they're about stupid people and they're about like, and the people are like, yeah, but isn't this kind of generic, or wouldn't it be more interesting if you did this, or wouldn't it be, and then as the movie goes along, right, you start to see that like the things they're talking about start to come true in all of these really funny ways. It's just a very charming, likable film. It is very clearly made by people who love slasher movies. And at first it's not particularly violent, but as it moves towards its conclusion, it gets like pretty bloody. And there's some fun, I don't know if you can see this on the poster. I think you, oh yeah, obviously, right on the front there. There's a chainsaw. So it does get a little bit, and it, like I said, micro budget. So it's not like High Tension where you see like the saw, cutting up with the chest and there's like stuff flying everywhere and stuff. But they do what they can with their budget. And it's a very charming, very likable film. Because I love slasher movies, I think I liked this movie a bit more than Harawata Man, but I will say that my favorite scene in either film is the last scene in Harawata Man. But it's just like so fun, and it's so charming, and I would just go and see it if you love slasher movies. So Harawata Man is more of it's a direct sequel, right? So the director of Ike Nieman has graduated from film school and gone off into the world, and the other members of the crew now are making their own movie. And they go to this, what they think is an abandoned warehouse to make the movie. And lo and behold, it is not an abandoned warehouse. And I don't want to spoil more than that, but I will say that this movie is kind of like a send-up of like harder edged films, like torture porn type of films and like scuzzy, nasty grindhouse type of movies and like just brutal kind of stuff. And this movie actually does have, there's one moment in particular that's pretty nasty, and it's not sadistic or cruel or like brutal, or it was just after Ike Nieman and the goofiness of it, I went straight into this one, and there's one scene where I'm like, oh, that's kind of nasty and like kind of it produces a similar effect to watching the type of films that this movie is sending up, but then it kind of gets back into the comedy, right? It is a very bloody movie, and I do know that there is a large contingent of people, which I saw based on like reading people's opinions of these films and stuff like that, who prefer Harawata Man, and the leads in both of the films are very, very charming, like very likable actors, and they're just very goofy, very funny movies. The other thing that I didn't expect about Harawata Man, which I honestly think is a testament to the greatness of the conception of the arc of the two films together, and the way that the characters carry across them, and the way that you follow their stories throughout these two. And it's one of these things too, right, where you're like, we wandered into the woods to make a horror movie, and it turned into essentially the experience of a horror movie itself. A year later, the same thing, like these people are like, what the fuck is going on? It's pretty funny. But anyway, the point being, I'm making a point on how I really didn't expect this movie to be emotionally moving, right? The movie in the end ends up kind of being this really like beautiful, very poignant tribute to people who really deeply love movies and the lengths they're willing to go to create movies, to just dedicate their lives to how much they love cinema. And it's not all about like the people who become successful filmmakers and the people who go on to become celebrities and to be rich and to be like, it's about anyone who's gone to film school, or anyone who's, put effort into making like an amateur film or like a student film or like written a script just because they love movies and they want to try writing a script. Like, it's this really poignant tribute to all of the people involved in filmmaking or who just love filmmaking and just go out there and try to do it. And even if it doesn't work, they did it because they love it. And it's about having passion for something and really genuinely, truly caring about something. And for me, as someone who went to film school, who obviously here I am making videos on YouTube, I'm not fucking Guillermo del Toro, right? Like, but to see that level of tribute to like so many of the people I spent so much of my time around, like in grad school, when I was in film school, working with all these people who put their lives on hold, who moved to California, who spent huge amounts of money to go to film school, who put so much passion into writing scripts or making short films or whatever, and it just didn't work out. And they moved home, or they had kids, they got married, their lives happened, something got in the way, they took a different path, but that passion was there, and it is fundamentally a part of who they are, and that level of passion is what gives us the cinema that we love, right? And if you watch a movie like Evil Dead, right, like Sam Raimi is not any different than any other young person, or Bruce Campbell, or Tappert, what's the guy's name? Tappert was the other producer on Evil Dead. Like, those three friends who had a vision, who had an idea, who raised some money, who went out of the woods and made this batshit insane movie that became a cult classic and is still a fucking 10 out of 10 fantastic film 44 years later, whenever that came out. They're not any different than anybody else who tries to do that, right? They had more success, but that Evil Dead exists, and Sam Raimi's and Bruce Campbell's entire career and all the Evil Dead sequels and Drag Me to Hell and the Spider-Man movies exist because someone with passion who loves cinema just went out and did it and said, fuck it, I'm gonna make a movie. And Harawata Man, in the end, ends up being this really kind of moving tribute to that kind of deep love and passion for cinema. So it really moved me. But on top of that, these are just hysterical, amazing action comedies that I genuinely fucking loved. And like I said, these are going into my heavy rotation. Like, I'm going to watch these again next year for Halloween, and I'm going to enjoy the shit out of them and make myself some popcorn and just kick back and have a great time. They would also be really good movies to watch with your friends. Like, if you have friends who love horror movies and who love Asian cinema or slasher films or whatever, right? And they haven't seen these movies. I mean, I have seen these movies selling on whatever online retailers for like $10. So you get both of these movies for $20, right? Sit down with your friends who have never heard of them and who like horror films and be like, I got something for you. Check this shit out. Have some beers or whatever, iced tea, water, whatever you like to have. Have some popcorn, have some carrot sticks, and just enjoy the shit out of Ike Nieman and Harawata Man. My name is Will. It's Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. It's Halloween season. I love it. You love it. We'll see you next time.